What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, what I'm going to do is show you guys how to replace a AC condenser on your Nissan 350Z. The reason I'm replacing the AC condenser is because right under here, you guys can see we have a huge hole on the bottom where a rock hit this AC condenser. So I'm going to show you guys how to replace it on your vehicle today. Now, I imagine that most of you guys are replacing your AC condenser because it's damaged and it is likely leaking. So if that's the case, then you probably don't have any refrigerant inside of the AC system. However, if your system is still full and closed, what you need to do first before you do anything is take it to a garage or like a shop or somewhere where they can evacuate that freon from the AC system. If you try to open the AC lines while the system is pressurized, it will explode on you. So just be very careful and don't do that. Make sure that you guys, first of all, get the system evacuated before you even try to do this. But like I said, on my vehicle, it has a huge hole in the condenser, so I know for a fact it is completely empty because it all leaked out. These are some of the tools that you're going to need. You'll need a pair of pliers. You'll need this tool right here, which is a hose disconnect set here. Pretty much just goes in between the line and the fitting, and it disconnects it. Flathead screwdriver, 27mm, and you also need a 10mm as well. So this vehicle is a 2003, but the process will apply to 2003 all the way up to 2009. And this example that I'm going to show you guys will be pretty much the same on the G35s as well. So as you can see, I have the intake kind of just off to the side. I didn't have it put together, but you want to remove your air intake out of the way so that it's easier to work. So to get the AC condenser off, what we first need to do is drain the coolant, because as you can see, there's hoses in front of the radiator fan assembly, and this assembly needs to come out along with the radiator. So I'm going to go ahead and drain the coolant by removing the little drain plug on the bottom, and I'm going to disconnect these hoses right here and then one down there so that I can lift up the radiator with the fan assembly together. While the coolant is draining, what I'm going to do next is remove this upper radiator hose. Then I'll reach under here on the passenger side and disconnect the fans from this wiring harness so that I can remove the fan assembly. So there should be two, and there's one that's kind of hard to see, but it just has a little tab that you want to depress and pull out. And we'll just kind of set these to the side, and then we'll go ahead and go to the front. So with that disconnected, you can pull up on your fan assembly and it should come out. You might have to move a few things out of the way. One of them being this AC line here, and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. So with this fan assembly free, you guys can see that there is something hitting it, and that is the AC line. There's a 10mm fastener there that you can remove so that you have enough wiggle room to pull it out. So I'll go ahead and remove that fastener down there. So this is the radiator fan assembly. I didn't notice this, but it is damaged. You guys can see there's two broken towers here that support the fan. I don't know if that will cause a big problem down the road, but I know that if it's not supported good, it could wobble and maybe cause damage to the radiator. So I think I'm going to replace this. So before we continue, what I'm going to do next is disconnect the AC lines from the AC condenser. These are these two lines right here. Now, it is important, like I said, to have your system completely drained of any Freon because it is under a lot of pressure, and if you disconnect those, it will basically explode on you. So don't do that. I'm gonna go ahead and remove these guys with the tool that I showed you guys in the beginning of the video. And I know that some of you guys are gonna run into an issue disconnecting these lines. So here is a little pro tip. Get some WD-40 and spray those lines so that the O-rings can get lubrication on them. This can help making it easier to disconnect. The lines here are both different sizes, so you just gotta find the right fitting that fits on there snug. You are gonna hear a nice click when the tool is installed properly, and I hope I can capture that here in audio. There we go. I don't know if you guys were able to hear it, but it clicked. So once it clicks, you should be able to put some pressure on it, and it should come out like that. It was kind of hard on there, but you will hear a nice audible click when it's installed properly. As you can see, the tool is all the way at the bottom right here, and this is where the spring is at. This is just opening up the spring so that you can overcome the lip. So that's one hose disconnected. We'll go on to the smaller one. It sometimes helps if you go around with the tool to get the spring completely free. Alright, so now that we have the AC lines disconnected from the AC condenser, what I'll do next is go to the front of the vehicle, and there should be two caps right here that cover a bolt that kind of holds the condenser to the radiator. So you want to go ahead and remove the cover so that you can unbolt the AC condenser from the radiator. If you guys want, you don't have to do this step, because what you could do is just disconnect the lower hose from the radiator right there. You can disconnect it and remove the AC condenser and the radiator together as an assembly. This car was involved in a crash in the past, and there's a lot of broken things that I'm noticing. Like the radiator is actually broken here. These two tabs, there should be something there that kind of holds it in place. That's what these are for. So this pretty much broke off the radiator, but if yours wasn't broken, you would want to get a pair of pliers and turn this so that it comes out like this, and you can pull out these little retaining tabs on both sides. But like as you guys can see on this vehicle, they're broken, so we don't really need to do that. Radiator and AC condenser are almost out. However, I need to disconnect the sensor here that goes to I'm assuming it's the pressure switch of the AC system. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove that connector from there. You should be able to just reach in there and depress it so that you can remove it. And then I'm gonna take off the whole radiator and AC condenser as a unit. So what I'll do is I'll disconnect this hose. I'll probably remove it from right here since it's easier, so that I can take it out together as one unit. I'm just gonna remove this radiator hose just so that I can get the hose and pretty much the whole assembly out as one unit. You don't have to do this step. You can replace the AC condenser without removing the radiator, in my opinion. But I feel like this is just going to be easier for me. And I kind of want to just take a look at the radiator to see the condition as well. This guy should be free. And I should just kind of go up. So this right here is the back of the AC condenser. As you guys can see, it is mounted to the radiator. These are the two 10mm fasteners that you want to remove when you guys remove these little covers on both sides. It's a little access hole so that you can remove those. But like I said, I removed the whole assembly because I just wanted to check the overall condition of the radiator. So that is technically the front of the radiator if you're looking at it from here, and you guys can see it's pretty filthy, so that will cause your vehicle to overheat if you let it go like that for a long time. So I'm gonna clean that off before I put this back on, and eventually I will get a new radiator if I decide to keep this vehicle. This is the AC condenser, and this is where we have the damage back up there, and it looks like it was repaired at one point, but it didn't hold. If your AC condenser doesn't come with this sensor, you also want to transfer it over to your new one. To transfer this sensor over, you're going to need to remove it with a 24mm deep socket. I forgot to mention this, but if you're going to do this, it's advisable to replace the O-rings on these sensors. Like you see here, there's one right here. So it's a good practice to replace the O-ring. You also want to replace the O-rings on the AC lines that go to the AC condenser. So I have my new O-ring on here. I'm going to go ahead and put this sensor back on. This is not on there tight at all, so don't over torque it, because it is very soft aluminum and you don't want to mess it up. So I got the radiator cleaned up. I'm going to put the AC condenser back on it. These guys just line up here in the bottom with those little brackets on the radiator. So just put it back together. So I have everything pretty much ready to be put back together. I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. So I have everything pretty much ready to be put back together. I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Alright, so I have the lines back on. They can be a little difficult depending on what condenser you get. Sometimes the fitment and finish of these condensers is not the best, but technically they should fit. If you are still having issues or having a hard time putting the line in, what you can do is this. Let's get a pair of pliers, kind of go behind the line and kind of bring them together. But make sure that you use a rag behind the pliers so it doesn't actually damage the line. That's what I had to do with the small one because it didn't want to clamp on. So like I said, I'm going to be replacing the fans with this newer condition fan assembly that I have. Once I do that, I'm going to connect the hoses and top off the fluid. And we need to get the AC filled up. But I'm going to wait for that till probably tomorrow. I'm going to do it myself. I'll have the equipment for it, but if you don't, you want to make sure you take it to a shop so they can properly fill it up for you. So as you guys can tell, I have the vehicle on. I did want to just remind you not to forget to connect the sensor that goes over here because I forgot to connect it. And then also just make sure that everything is on there right. I have this guy zip tied on here because, as you guys know, these guys are broken. But I am going to replace this radiator eventually if I end up keeping the car. So this is pretty much going to wrap up the end of the video. I hope you guys did find it useful, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.